Are Israel and Iran at war? Early on Friday morning, Israel launched strikes across Iran that targeted its nuclear sites, military leaders, and nuclear scientists. It killed several top Iranian military commanders, at least 6 nuclear scientists, and dozens of senior officials. Those targeted include General Hossein Salami, chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Iran's elite paramilitary force. Israel also heavily struck the Natanz site, one of Iran's 2 main nuclear plants, as well as at least 6 military bases, ballistic missile sites, and Iran's air defenses. How did they do it? Mossad agents had reportedly smuggled a base of explosive drones into Iran over several months. Last night, those drones were activated and fired on Iran's missile launchers. Iran responded by firing over 100 drones at Israel, all of which were intercepted by Israel or neighboring Jordan. Israel said the operation aimed to roll back Iran's nuclear program and could last up to 2 weeks, with more attacks expected from both sides. It had been planning to strike Iran's facilities for months. The Trump administration refused at first, saying it wanted to try secure a deal that could limit Iran's nuclear program. But recently, talks have stalled, and President Trump has grown frustrated, calling Iran's position
just not acceptable.
US and Israeli officials began to fear Iran was using the nuclear talks to play for time, while developing their nuclear program in the meantime. Israel said it struck Iran because it had entered an intense weaponization phase, reaching the point of no return. But the evidence is doubtful. In March, US intelligence claimed
Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
But on Wednesday, as talks were stalling, the US Defense Secretary said there are indications Iran has been moving towards something that would look a lot like a nuclear weapon. The next day, the UN nuclear watchdog condemned Iran for not complying with its nuclear obligations for the first time in 20 years. It is more likely that these events, Trump looking to ramp up pressure, the nuclear agency condemning Iran, and talks stalling, created the opportunity for Israel to put its months-long plan into action. It also follows pressure on Israel's government, which narrowly survived a no-confidence vote on Thursday. Netanyahu is desperate to keep ultra-Orthodox parties in his coalition, after they've threatened to leave over his failure to exclude them from the military draft. The US and the Gulf countries distanced themselves from the attacks, largely to avoid Iranian retaliation. The US said afterwards that it was not involved in strikes against Iran, and Israel took unilateral action, warning Iran not to target US interests or personnel in response. But Trump later wrote an aggressive post on Truth Social, warning that Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and should just do it before it is too late, warning that there is much more to come. Many Gulf states also quietly hope a weakened Iran will pose less of a regional threat, even as they worry about retaliatory strikes. The US and the Gulf seem happy to play the good cop to Israel's bad cop, allowing Israel to apply the military pressure that makes Iran friendlier at the negotiating table. But whether this will happen is unclear. Israel did not just target nuclear sites. It decapitated Iran's senior military leadership, much like it did to Hezbollah last year. And it struck residential buildings in central Tehran, where Iran's senior commanders and scientists lived. All of this once again highlighted Israel's deep intelligence penetration of Iran's leadership. Israel also reportedly killed Ali Shamkhani, a senior advisor who was leading nuclear talks with the US. Iran's officials saw this as killing any chances for nuclear diplomacy, and Lebanon's Al Mayadeen channel later reported that Iran had pulled out of the next round of talks with the US, scheduled for Sunday. This is perhaps the weakest Iran's leadership has been since it first came to power in 1979, when it was immediately invaded by Saddam Hussein's Iraq. Now, with not only its nuclear sites, but its military leadership, infrastructure, and air defenses under attack, it may feel it has little to gain from negotiations and nothing to lose from retaliation. Or, like Hezbollah, it may feel forced to accept a ceasefire with little other options left. As leaders around the world urge restraint, Israel's military is preparing for days or potentially of direct conflict with Iran, eager to seize this opportunity. Israel's government has declared a state of emergency. Israelis are stockpiling supermarket goods, remaining within 10 minutes of shelters, and cancelling large gatherings. But for now, the big fear that Hezbollah would fire on northern Israel seems to be gone, as the Lebanese group said it would not get involved. In the meantime, just how far Israel's attacks on Iran will go, and whether it will dismantle not just its military, but the leadership itself, is yet to be seen over the next few days.